been, as you think about all the things that you've been involved with, and I'm going to say not just as president, but as just a board member in general, have there been certain things that have been especially challenging, a certain issue or something like that, or is there a certain function that sometimes really is tougher than others?
I think probably the most difficult thing is to understand how many different kinds of stakeholders that exist here and try and understand the right things to do for education. So of course you have the legislature, you have the governor's office, you have our teachers, the teachers' unions, all the employees in the Department of Education, all the folks who live out in the field, and we have 55 counties. And the one thing that I've learned about being here in Virginia for as many years as I have is that we're a very diverse state. The Eastern Panhandle is different from the Northern Panhandle, which is different from the West, the South, and the East. And for us who are responsible for providing policies that are supposed to be one size fits all for the entire state, it introduces a great number of challenges to make sure that we come up with a system that's appropriate for everyone in West Virginia.
Does this job force you to travel a lot? Are you?
Yeah, sure it does. I mean, as everybody who lives in West Virginia knows, you can't get there from here.
Right.
So, you know, which would bring me to a technology discussion we can talk about later, which is why I'm such a great proponent of improving our broadband system across West Virginia.
Sure.
Because we are challenged by the mountains and the lack of infrastructure in our roads. So to get from here to there is going to be, it has always been a challenge, and that's something we need to be dealing with all
In
the
terms
time.
of your role, Mike, you know, there are a lot of things that you face, I'm sure, on a regular basis. One being the political function of the role. You know,
Sure.
you are responsible for developing policy and probably being able to, I would think, explain it and articulate it. Obviously, solicit feedback from stakeholders.
Right.
How do you intersect with the legislature?
We certainly are in contact with the legislature as often as we possibly can, but as everybody knows, our legislature only meets for 60 days. It's important for me as the state school board president to make sure that I'm in constant communication with our education leaders on the legislative side, both on the House and the Senate side, and also the president of the Senate and the Speaker of the House, so they understand that we're working 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year to make sure that our policies are right, so that eliminate the surprises and the drama that may happen as a result of them coming in during a legislative session.
And I'm very interested in the surprises and drama that have been associated with some issues. One of them that I would like to talk about shortly is the issue of standards. I know there's been a lot of contention over the past few years about that,
Right.
And I'd like to talk about that as well. When you think about your vision, kind of for your tenure as president of the State Board of Education, are there certain things that really stand at the forefront of your mind that you'd like to see accomplished?
Sure. I think about that all the time. After my 9 years are up, I want to be able to look back and say, did I make a difference here? Are our children better educated? Are they more ready for being out in the real world and have the tools that they need to be successful? I worry about that every single day. Unfortunately, we have so many challenges here in West Virginia as it relates to just things that are just things that are just so necessary for daily life, like feeding our children, making our children responsible, and making sure that they stay off of drugs, making sure they get to school, making sure that they graduate from school. These things weigh on me every single day, and I worry about that. But I want to be able to look back and say, we put the right policies in place, okay? We attacked the issues that needed to be attacked and focused on them to make sure that we leave behind a better system than we found when we got here. That's what really drives me every single day.
Gail Manchin was your predecessor in this role.
Yes.
And you know, she was very active as well in that role. And is there something in particular that you, as the current president, that you really look at and think, you know, that was really a good thing, that really made a difference?
Well,
in terms of
I can't ever imagine myself being compared to Gail Manchin. Gail Manchin has always been, to me, the First Lady of West Virginia. And her ability to reach out to people and her communication skills and her social skills are things that I just don't have. I never will, and that's fine. But she set in place some great policies and also introduced the opportunity for us to meet with other states And we've had that opportunity through your organization to meet with other states and compare what we're doing here in West Virginia with our neighboring states. And we found that to be an extremely, very valuable, very interesting way of learning how others are dealing with education policies.
And when you think about where we're at now as a state in terms of the board and how the board functions, intersects with all the different stakeholders in the state, do you think that are we making progress? Are we moving forward, would you say?
I think so. It's always challenging. I mean, the legislature is volatile. It's going to change. During our tenure here, we've seen the legislature change from a Democratic to a Republican legislature. We have a governor's race coming up here that conceivably could change the way our policies work. But it's just so dynamic that it's important for us to stay on top of what's going on the political side and the legislative side, so to make sure that we eliminate surprises. I've always had that type of approach to my business world, and the people who've worked for me understood that. I can take bad news, I can take good news, I don't get high, I don't get low, but what I don't like are surprises.
Sure.
You can give me all the challenges you want, but I want to know about them so we can come up with solutions. Our job, and I talk about this all the time at the board, is to make sure that we are in tune with what the issues really are, okay? And then make sure that we are in touch with the teachers, with our administrators, with our service personnel, and in particular our students, so we understand what their needs are. Coming from the business world, it's important for people to understand. People like me look at our students if they're our customers, and they really are. And our job as educators is to make sure that we meet the needs of that customer, because they're critical to our success here in West Virginia and our future.
Are there some mechanisms in place that allow you, as the president of the board, to be able to do that, to know kind of where the students are at? How do you make sure?
I think there's only one way to do that. You really do have to go out in the schools and you have to meet with the kids one-on-one. And I do that as often as I can. Not as often as I'd like to.
Sure.
Because I think that's something that I've always said every year I'm going to do better at. But given the time restraints and other things, it's hard to do. But I like to hear directly from the kids and from the teachers, from the superintendents, exactly what they're going through.
I'm sure that's a highlight for you of your week when you do get to do that.
It really
It's a lot
is.
of
It's
fun.
the best part, is talking to the kids.
I bet. Well, I definitely want to talk with you about technology. We talked about earlier. I know it's a very big thing for you. You come from a background in technology. You understand its importance to learning. Some people believe that if we would just get iPads in the hands of our students, that they're going to be better. They're going to be higher achieving. They're going to perform better. Is that true?
No, that's not true. I mean, the technology, computers, tablets, iPads, smartphones are tools. Okay, we still have a big gap in digital literacy. A lot of our children may have these devices, but a lot of them do not know how to use them. Now, it's come a long way. I have several grandchildren, and when I see them pick up devices now, they are indeed digital natives. This is not intimidating to them at all. But how to use them, how to use a device in a socially appropriate way is very, very important, and it's something that we need to continue to consider educating our children even more about. Equally important, though, is that we can't live in our schools without an appropriate amount of computers for a number of reasons. Testing, for one. Communication with outside sources is extremely important. So we have a mission certainly at the board and the department have been working very hard to try to have a one-to-one initiative, that we have a computer of some sort, an internet access device of some sort for every child in West Virginia. This is very important.
In terms of instructional technology, what's done to make sure that the instructors have adequate preparation to be able to help students use those devices to improve learning?
Well, each of our counties has access to technical information specialists and people in the field. We have a number of people at the Department of Education who provide that kind of support. We never have enough of those type of people. It's extremely important. And not only to reach out to the children, but our teachers and administrators as well. Oftentimes you'll go into schools and you'll talk to teachers, and they'll tell you that some of the kids know a whole lot more about technology than they do. And it's very hard to keep up with that. I try very hard. I've lived through technology development my entire life, and I still have to keep in touch with my grandchildren who teach me something new every single day. And if you're not in touch with what's going on there socially and what's going on, if you're not in tune with that, you're going to get lost very quickly, and that becomes intimidating to our teachers as well as our kids. So it's very important to keep up with that.